Nigerian Democracy Group, the Natives, is asking the recently inaugurated ministers to either perform to deliver on the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu or resign from office. Addressing a press briefing in Abuja, leader of the group, Smart Edwards, said President Tinubu has demonstrated good leadership, so his appointed officials must reciprocate with excellent performance. Correspondent Abida Lawal reports.
Since May 29th, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has faced a narrow window of opportunity to introduce reforms. However, the outlook for Africa's most populous country and largest economy remains clouded. The economic and security outlooks are interconnected. Poverty is one of the drivers of crime, banditry, radicalization and ethnic tension, while stability and security are necessary conditions for growth and development. The newly sworn-in ministers have their jobs cut out for them across various sectors of national development. The Natives, whose members traverse various ethnic, religious and cultural background, with about 20 million members across the country, has vowed to focus on all the ministries and parastatals to ensure it is not business as usual.
You have given us a combination of courage, open-mindedness, experience, inclusion, and performance. With the cooperation of the People-Centered National Assembly, the stage is indeed set for renewed hope. Honorable ministers, come alive, wake up, rise up. You are 45 of the best amongst us. Do not be a disgrace to us, globally, collectively, and individually. We won't tolerate failure. The entire country expects much from you, and also the President himself, so may your reign be prosperous.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu started with a program prioritizing the economy and security. It is expected that the ministers will walk in line with the president's footstep. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
In a show of gratitude, northern Nigerian youths have extended their thanks to President Tinubu for strategically placing ministers from the northern region in key positions. The youths also outlined the quality of who should be made the youth minister. Lupo Arsen reports.
It's been 3 days since the swearing-in of ministers appointed by President Bola Tinubu. Many individuals expressed their appreciation to the president for selecting competent individuals with the capacity to further his achievements. Youths from northern Nigeria are grateful to President Tinubu for the prominent ministerial positions assigned to ministers from the northern region.
For our congratulations for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for finding our sons from the north worthy and giving them highly respected seats from ministerial cabinet, such as Foreign Affairs Minister, Minister of Health, Minister of Police Affairs, Minister of Defense, Minister of Housing, FCT, Minister of State. So I think we lack what to thank him. He has done everything for us. It's remaining for the ministers that are appointed to do the needful. Help the people as...
However, the youth still urge the president to ensure that the vacant position of the Minister of Youth and Sports is filled by a capable individual who can lead the youth towards progress. They suggest that Dr. Nicholas Felix, an advocate for youth and an employer himself, would be the ideal candidate for the role.
He can go out without seeking anything from the federal government, go out and seek for support, come and invest in the youth for Nigerians. That's our belief in Dr. Nicholas Felix, because he has been doing it, he has been showing exemplary leadership. That's why we have trust in him.
Meanwhile, another group is responding to those who oppose Mohammed Badaru and Bello Matawale's appointment as ministers of defense due to lack of military background. They point out that Rabiu Kwankwaso also served as Minister of Defense without a military background and express full confidence in Badaru and Matawale's potentials for outstanding performance.
We are convinced that appointment of His Excellency Mohammed Badaru as Minister of Defense is a game changer in the spirit of renew hope. We extend our special gratitude to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this informed choice.
Most of the ministers have hit the ground running, and Nigerians remain hopeful that this administration will fulfill all the promises made during its campaign. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
The All Progressives Congress, APC in Kogi State, has described as untrue the reports being circulated that Governor Yaya Bello has been told to produce the Zonal Organizing Secretary and concede the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the party. In a statement, the state chairman of APC, Abdullahi Bello, blamed the misinformation on those he described as enemies of the party, saying APC remains committed to the position of the national chairman of the party and will ensure that the constitution of the party is protected. The Kogi APC chairman said the governor, as a loyal party man who has a great respect for the president and the leadership of the party, will only accept what is unconstitutional. Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, who is the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Professor Abubakar Olariwaju Suleiman, for discussion on deepening legislative executive synergy and independence in Nigeria. Please stay with us.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News, starting 2nd September 2023.
Lagos is the most visited state in Africa, as the 5th largest economy on the continent. Covering the state and its government is no mean feat, it's a busy beat. We go beyond the curtain of tapes to travel in far into the deep.
I want to thank the Lagos State government for the healthcare facility.
To bring stories that cut across all spectrums.
A greater Lagos shall be ours.
We tell you stories that define our collective well-being as Lagosians. I'm Adedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. This is Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Professor Abubakar Olariwaju Suleiman, for discussion on deepening legislative executive synergy and independence in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof. It's so good to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right. So you just hosted the Women in Governance Conference, which brought together local and international rapporteur. What informed this conference?
Thank you very much, audience. Thank you very much, the moderator. The conference on women in governance was held for 2 days between 22nd to 23rd this month. And what informed the conference was the fact that, after a lot of agitations, a lot of clamor, prior to the 2023 election in Nigeria, there was this intense struggle that at least the voice of our women in Nigeria has not been heard. You know, we have little numbers or few numbers of women in governance and politics. We have few numbers of women in government generally. When you look at the parliament, for instance, in 2029 to 2023, we had just 15, parliamentarians in House of Rep. Then we have about 9 of them in the Senate. And the same thing applied to the various state levels. When you look at people that were fully involved in governance, both at the level of executive, at the level of the legislature, you could count numbers of women, females that are involved in participation. Participation in terms of representation. Participation in terms of having say in government. Participation in terms of being elected. Participation in terms of being appointed. There are quite fewer numbers of women. We talk of democracy in Nigeria or anywhere at all. Democracy is not just about the men, not just about the adults. It's about youths, it's about people with vulnerability, and it's about women. And there have been a lot of expenditure, a lot of expenses, a lot of fundings outlay on agitation to increase the numbers of women in politics, to increase the number of women in governance. So we partner with a lot of donor agencies. There are a lot of CSOs, a lot of NGOs, a lot of protestations, a lot of bills were mooted in the various chambers of the National Assembly. A lot of bills sent through the first, second. It could not go through the third reading. People killed it at the level of voting. So I think there was need, therefore, to revisit that conversation. After the election, rather than progressing forward, we now had, we now move backward. Rather than having quite, significant numbers of people in parliament, we now have just 3 senators, for instance, in Senate, and roughly 15 or 14, members in the House of Representatives. And the same thing percolates down to the state level. Without thought, look, we can't continue in this direction. We need to ask questions. Why did we get to this level? What obtained? What happened? Despite the agitation, despite the clamor, despite the advocacy, what went wrong? I think for us to now start any mobilization at all, we need to ask that question. And the question must come in form of serious academic intercourse. And that was why we convoke, with the support of the leadership of the National Assembly, we convoke that international conference to ask ourselves the question, to probe into why we got to the stage. What is the method? Is there anything they have been adopting, in this advocacy that is wrong? Do we look at the methodology? Do we look at the measure? Do we look at what has really gone wrong? And that was why we convoked that conference that saw, participants from other countries like Senegal, like Gambia, like South Africa, like Kenya, for us to really share their experiences with us on what obtains in their own clients. And quite a number of resource persons, participants, they treat in their own, presentations. The program, the event was well attended, with the Senate President in attendance, with the Deputy Senate President in attendance, with the Speaker in attendance, with a whole lot of Nigerian stakeholders in attendance, and with a lot of members of academia in attendance. I think it was a productive event, and I think we'll be able to now understand what went wrong and what next we should do.
But Prof, conferences, workshops and seminars on this subject matter are not alien to Nigeria. But what makes this latest conference different and what age the prospects?
Conferences are not alien to Nigeria. Discussions are not alien to us. But you could actually see discussion that take the dimensions of bringing people from the ground and the people from the public together. We're able to bring people from the academias with the practitioners in politics to share experiences, to ask questions. Our major problem in Nigeria is that we make policy without tying the policy to any research work, without probing into why certain things are happening the way they're happening, without asking a question. This conference that we had was a remarkable difference because we're able to identify scientifically what went wrong, what is the problem. Unlike the previous one, where you see people, politicians being mobilized in a hall, they be shouting, they be talking. No. We need to bring people from academia to really discuss with them and identify what went wrong here and there, so that we can now know what precisely we should do as a measure of trying to really advance the interests of Nigerian women in a way that at least in the coming election, Nigerian women will not just be there as electorate, they be there as key participants in governance.
So just like you rightly mentioned, the leadership of the 10th National Assembly was powerfully represented. Does this in any way herald hope for more women inclusion?
I want to get you the question, please.
All right. So like you rightly mentioned, the leadership of the 10th National Assembly was powerfully represented. So I'm asking, does this in any way herald hope for more women inclusion?
Oh, with the kind, you see, let me tell you something very interesting yesterday. 2 days ago when we had the opening. Mr. President, Senate President rather, was not disposed, going by the agenda before him on that Wednesday, to attend that program. But he told me in person that, look, I am known to be an uncommon governor. I'm an uncommon minister. I want to be an uncommon Senate President, especially on this issue of women participation in governance. What stock? I want to know what stock the project in the 9th Assembly. I want to be part of this engagement. I want to be part of this conference. And I want to see it as a project that we, 10th Assembly, must really undertake and ensure that we get for women a fair shares, of governance in participation. So the difference there is that you see right from day one, the National Assembly leadership that show commitment to a project. You see a National Assembly leadership, both houses, both House of Rep and Senate, that says this is a project we must drive. Let me tell you, I wouldn't have done that without the support, without their directive, without their guidance, without their authorization. They ask us to do it. They are committed to it. And I want to believe, I believe in them. Even the women that attended the program, they believe in the statement of Mr. Senate President. I think we should expect a whole lot of difference this time around in terms of the way the bill will be revisited and the way the bill will be moved, and eventually we will see an impactful, law that will see women, more participation of women in governance come 2027 by God's grace.
Prof, this is sad to say, but many women groups are still dazed that despite intensified advocacy, all 5 bills relating to women inclusion were dropped in the last constitutional alteration exercise of the Parliament. What could have been responsible for this, and what should women do differently this time?
You see, in the course of the conference, we listened to so many conversations, we listened to so many opinions, and we now discovered that one of the problems is the approach. The approaches, are very, very wrong. And the approaches call for questions. When we share experiences from people from Kenya, from Uganda, from South Africa, we discover, for instance, that rather than talk, rather than going on the streets, rather than just, bringing in women to the hall, shouting, we can adopt some bit of diplomacy, in courting the fellowship of men. We need men. Women should not just talk about equality. We should emphasize equity. We should emphasize fair sharing. We should emphasize justice. We should emphasize, inclusion, not parity, not equilibrium. I think the approach, by talking about, we have a lot of, variables that inform why this thing is not going the way it should go. The issue of our culture is there, the issue of our religion is there, the issue of our economic is there, a lot of factors. Some part of the North, for instance, they will say, no, how can women want to share, want to show they are equal with us. So now the emphasis now is not on equality, and that is one of the message. It's on equity. So, and the women are now saying that if the problem they had in the course of moving these, beads the other time has to do with coinage of words, they are ready to down tool those coinage of words and reframe the wordings. I think the methodology is one problem. The secondly, in terms of the methodology too, you cannot talk about you want to be part of governance. At a level of party politics, you are not there. That women this time around should be more involved in party politics. When you go to various political parties, you could hardly see women participating in the administration of political party. They wait till when the government is now being formed. That is not done anywhere. From the experience we share from other climes, women should be ready to start from the base. They should be ready to be part of political parties' administration. They should be more involved. If a party is boasting, of maybe 2,000 executives nationwide, we should see at least 800 women involved, so that at the level of constitutions, of executive, of administrators of the party, you can see women as treasurer, you can see women as organizing secretary, you can see them as vice chairman, so that at least they are not just occupying that of director of women affairs. So when they occupy different stratas of the party structure, so when the issue of sharing of party portfolio after election must have been concluded, they will have a say to say, yes, we are part of it. So when the men take 60%, they can conveniently take 40%. But when you are aloof, you are not part of party structures, you don't partake in what goes in the party, you wait till election comes and now want to collect from them. I think it's not done anywhere. I want to believe women constitute the majority in this country. As majority, therefore, they constitute the bulk of the electorate in this country. If that is the case, therefore, when it comes to competing and asking for a fair shares in the deals, I think they stand a chance to get what they want. But we have to really look, they have to revisit the methodology, they have to look at their style, and perhaps, see how they can tinker with the methodology they used to use before and abide with what obtains in other climes. Advocacy, yes, must continue. We have to socialize. We have to better the economic lot of Nigerian women. There we have the Women Trust Fund, for instance, that is not functioning. We must see that Women Trust Fund is functioning so as to empower our women so that they can have enough to really, dole out with when it comes to really competing with men on certain things. So the narrative now is not just about equality, but it's about equity. It's not just about trying to compete, wrestle with them. It's about trying to employ diplomacy in getting men to realize why they must give them certain shares of the national, position. It's not just about trying to fight with the husband. It's about taking your husband to a dinner and talk to the husband to say, look, my dear, why not just, talk to your colleagues to consider for this thing. Our women in Nigeria, they must be ready to take us to dinners. When they do that, perhaps we are going to show some rethink.
All right. So, Prof, still talking about participation, many believe the advocacy should start from the political parties. Do you belong to the school of thought?
I think I've just said it now. Political party, they must start from the base. And one of the things we have concluded in that conference is how to bring all the political parties together, educate them on why they must see women as partners in democracy. It's one thing to advocate. It's one thing to enhance the capacity of political party structure. It's one thing to get them avail to best practices across the globe. It's for women too to realize that as a starting point of getting themselves in governance, the starting point must be at the level of political party. We have said that on several occasions. We have said that in our communique. We have agreed that the struggle, the advocacy, socialization, education must start from the political party structure.
So at the conference, speakers alluded to the marked improvements by President Bola Tinubu to give women some fair representation in his government. Is this enough?
You see, so it might not be enough, but that's a good starting point. The last time we had such a larger shares for women was under Goodluck Jonathan, when we had close to 30% in the cabinet. Since that time, the last administration gave women less than 15%. But now under Ahmed Bola Tinubu, we have close to 20%. That's a leeway. That's an improvement. And it's not yet done anyway. We still have about 3 or 4 ministers hanging. Out of these 3 ministers, we have 2 of them that are women. So invariably, we may end up having 25% under Ahmed Bola Tinubu. That is at the level of the cabinet, ministerial. There are other appointments, chief executive of parastatals, chairman of board. I want to believe the president is a feminine president who are identified with the women, and going by his pedigree and its antecedent in Lagos State, he will do more for Nigerian women. If where the legislatures, perhaps, where we have a gap in the parliament, I think the executive is trying to beat that gap now with the appointment of more women in the cabinet, and with more to come. I want to assure you in other appointments that may come in the nearest future.
Fantastic. Well, Prof, I'm sure you know there are other vulnerable groups begging for attention, persons with disabilities and the youths. How do we fight their cause?
Sir, I need to let you know that in the conference too, we brought in the vulnerables. In fact, they were active in the conference. We brought them as participants. We brought them as resource persons. They were made to present papers. They were made to be part of the engagements. They were made to be part of even the leading speakers in the conference. So it's not just about women alone, because you see, in the institute has done something during the last election. In the course of monitoring the elections or observing the election, we were looking for 3 classes of people. We were looking for the numbers of women in politics in that election. We were searching for the numbers of the vulnerables, and we were searching for the numbers of youth. That was our focus in the last election, when we were observing elections as an institute. And we are trying to now take the conversation, further with the convoking that conference. And after the conference, that brought in not just women, but people with vulnerability. Our next, dialogue session is going to be purely on the challenged people in our community. Democracy is about mass participation. It's about majority of the people in governance. If we try to marginalize, alienate, seclude, and not get this set of people involved in the administration of our society, they will not practice democracy. So it's not just about women alone. The conversation on people with vulnerability has commenced with the Institute. This time around, the leadership of the National Assembly has given us the directive to lead in the advocacy, to lead in the struggle, to lead in revisiting the projects. And it's not just about women, not about youth, but even about people with vulnerability. And that is why when you look at the clips of the conference, a lot of people with vulnerability were, key partakers in that conference. So I think it's a conversation that is ongoing, not just limiting it to women alone, but even to the people that are physically challenged.
All right. So, for better perspectives and as vast as you can, I would like us to lead us into the key outcomes of the conference.
Yeah, one of the key outcomes of the conference is, 1, we have to take it beyond just mere talk, mere conversation. In the next few weeks, we are bringing all the CSO together. That has something to do with the issue of emancipation of Nigerian women, to see how to drive it. Secondly, the Senate President has asked us that they need our position paper on this, because it's going to form part of their agenda in the 10th Assembly. Then thirdly, we have identified the need for government to restructure the Women Trust Fund in a way that there will be certain amount of money allocation from the federal government allocated to that trust fund that will empower Nigerian women to be more active. Then fourthly, we need to convoke, as part of our mandate in the Institute, a lot of capacity building workshop for the political parties on the need to mainstream into whatever they do the issue of gender equity. This, among other things, are the takeaway from the conference, which the Institute is going to spearhead going forward.
All right. So, Prof, what next after the Women in Governance Conference?
What next? We have a lot of things we are doing as an institute. And as an institute that is there to enhance the capacity and promote democratic ethics, not just for adults, not just for men, but for women, for every segment of our society, we have a whole lot to do. As I'm talking to you now, this issue of women inclusivity in governance. Yes, we observe it was just an undertaking by Nigerian women. Now a whole institute under federal government is taking it up. We are coming up with a lot of motion drafting, a lot of bill initiative that will be channeled into the National Assembly, that will form part of what's going to be, the proceeding going forward. Then secondly, we have a lot of workshop, outlined for both different, segments of society in enhancing democratic practice. Then fourthly, as part of our undertaking in the Institute, we are not just, drafting bills or drafting motion or advancing capacity of stakeholders in democracy and legislature. We conduct, a lot of programs, master program, PhD program, and as such, we are commencing a program. We have commenced a program, but we are commencing at the level of master's now and PhD, something that has to do with, gender. And one of the things we agree in that conference was the need to inculcate into the younger ones gender study. So we have a whole lot of packages outlined, to promote the interests of Nigerian women in a way that they are better heard, they are better informed, and they are better engrossed in what government is doing. We have a whole lot we are working on.
All right, well done, Prof. And just like you said, discussions centered around women inclusion and leadership, women in politics and governance cannot be overemphasized. Oh, well done. So let's move on to other issues. And I would like us to talk about the impact of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. How will you describe the impact on legislature and democracy in the country?
Asking me such a question is asking me to tell you everything we have been doing and what we are meant to do. You see, the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Study is the only agency under National Assembly or even federal government charged with the responsibility of enhancing the capacity of the legislature in Nigeria, their support staff, and every democratic actors in this country and institutions. Since the inception of the Institute, we have been able to live up to our mandates. The mandate of enhancing the capacity of the legislature, the mandate of enhancing the capacity of the parliamentary staff, the mandate of educating critical stakeholders in democracy, the mandate of providing technical assistance for the legislature in the country. And beyond that, the mandate of ensuring that specialized courses in the areas of legislative studies and procedures are being taught. We've been able to do this in the last 13 years of our establishment. Yes, 1999, democracy returned back to Nigeria out of the struggle by the civilians. By the time, anytime you see the military taking over governments, the major casualties of that military intervention is the legislature. So the kind of skills and maturity the executive had over the years and that of the judiciary, the legislature could not boast of that. And therefore there was this knowledge gap in the legislature, knowledge gap in their business of legislation, knowledge gap in their business of oversight, knowledge gap in their business of representation. So how do we close the gap? How do we ensure that we're able to maintain some equilibrium between the legislature and other arms of government? And that was why the Institute was set up in the first instance. And in the last 13 years, when the Institute became an institute, proud the Institute to be an institute, we had what we call the Policy and Research Project under the National Assembly as a department. It was that department that transmuted into the Institute for Legislative and Democratic Study. Since that time, we've been able to at least assist the legislature in their workings day to day. You can be a professor, you can be a messenger, you can be a carpenter, you can be a bricklayer. When it comes to legislative business, it's a specialized business. You need to learn it. You need to study it. You need to be availed the opportunity. You need to acquire the knowledge. We have been providing that knowledge over the years. Before 1999 up to now, you talk about money bags, you talk about banana peel, you talk about the push and pull within the house. Through the workings of the Institute, we have been able to build up the political culture of our parliamentarians in the country. Through the assistance of donor agencies and with the support of the leadership of the National Assembly over the years, we have been able to avail our parliament-elected representative knowledge about how laws are being made. We have been able to hone the skills of the legislature in the areas of oversight. We have been able to hone the skill of the various committees. Committees are the engine rooms of the parliament. We provide a lot of technical assistance, a lot of capacity building, a lot of knowledge, acquisition. We do a lot of training for the various committees over the year. We produce a lot of manuals that guide the working of the legislature. We produce a lot of literatures that guide the work of the legislature. We guide them in the areas of oversight. And most importantly, the Institute, for the past 8 years, commenced what we call postgraduate program in specialized parliamentary courses, legislative studies, procedures, parliamentary study, party politics, HND in parliamentary reporting, and a whole lot. We have been able to produce a lot of specialized, as stakeholders, actors in the areas of legislation. The Institute has lived up to its expectation that even in the area of democracy, we are partner with the electoral body. We observe, we monitor, we partner with them in coming up with a lot of ideas on how to nurture our political culture and how to nurture our democratic ethics. Beyond that, the Institute recently has floated a radio station that will serve as the voice of Nigerian people, that will serve as a bridge between the people and their elected representatives. The Institute recently, too, has come out with a Center for Security Analysis that will assist the legislature in providing information on issues that borders on security, issues that borders on threats, threat analysis, threat assessment. We observe that, for instance, the legislature knows little or nothing about what goes on in the areas of security. We need to have just a department charged with the responsibility of providing the briefs, data, analysis, scrutinizing bills on issues that borders on, so that by the time they are talking about lawmaking in the areas of defense and security, they are well informed. By the time they are trying to oversight the security apparatuses, or about what goes on in the areas of security, they are talking from the point of knowledge. So these are things we have done over the years. Let me let you know this, that our institute also conduct a lot of studies. In the wake of the pandemic, for instance, the institute was the only institute in West Africa that came up with a compendium of the implications of the COVID pandemic on the political economy of our country. A whole lot of things are ongoing in the institute. Everything we are doing is to enhance the capacity of the parliamentary staff, the parliamentarians, and even the parliamentarians at the subnational level. These are key to us. We have been to advocacy on the issue of legislative autonomy, local government autonomy, judicial autonomy. We have done so much. As I said, asking me to say all this is like asking me to write a whole lot of book. We have lived up to our expectation with the support of the leadership of National Assembly. And we hope to do more because it's our duty to do it, and we must do it. Democracy must be scaled up in our country. And for us to scale up democracy, we must build the capacity of the various democratic actors in the country. And that is the essence of the Institute. Kudos to the leadership of National Assembly, kudos to Nigerian stakeholders, and kudos to the support of the press in ensuring that the Institute lives up to its mandate.
And kudos to the institutes as well. Prof, let's take a break, and this conversation will continue when I return. I've been speaking with the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Professor Abubakar Olariwaju Suleiman. We'll take a break and I'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. I've been speaking with the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Professor Abubakar Olariwaju Suleiman. Tonight, we're focused on deepening legislative executive synergy and independence. All right, Prof. So how well, based on all of these you've said, how well are you attracting members of the National Assembly to take up courses at the Institute?
How we get them admitted?
How well are you attracting? How well are you attracting members of the National Assembly to take up courses at the Institute?
Oh, it's very simple. The Institute is just like any tertiary institutions. You see, as long as at the point of entry, when the elected representative have been, coming into, about starting resuming work, we try to get them impressed or in there about the essence of the institute. That without the capacity of the parliamentarians, there's nothing we can do. Don't forget again that this country will experience a lot of high turnover of the parliamentarians over the years. The worst of it all was what happened in this last election, where we had just about 71% of the senators are just coming newly, and about 65% of the House of Rep members are new. The same thing applies to the state level. So we try to impress on them that, look, you are coming for a serious business. You are the epitome of democracy. You are the true representative of your people. Your people look up to you for so many things. To get this work done, you must understand the rudiments. You must know how to do the work. So at the point of entry, we were in touch with them. We did the induction with them, the training induction with them. We tried to at least provide them with some literatures from the institutes and other institutions. And most importantly, we let them know that within the 4 years, you are going to stay in Abuja or anywhere you want to stay, if at the state level. This institute provides specialized courses that you could not see in any conventional institution in Nigeria, not even in Africa. And the leadership tried to make announcement to that effect in the various chambers. Through our staff, we tried to percolate these services down to the state level. And one thing we did not do was to compromise minimum standard in our admission procedure. What obtains in any university, if you want to read master's, you must have your 5 credits, you must have your first degree 2.2 or 2.1, as the case may be. The same thing applies with us here. We try to endear them with all these, and when they look at the areas of our resource person, our intellectuals, our teachers, our researchers, our consultants, a reasonable person will know, yes, this is a place I can benefit from. And let me tell you this, for the past 8 years of putting the program in place, we have quite a number of graduates drawn from the parliamentarians in this country, both at the states and at the federal level. Yes.
Prof, how about the state houses of assembly? Do you have engagement with them?
Oh, very interesting question. Yes, before now, yeah, you could say before 2019, we had little or no engagement with them as such. But for the past 5 years now, we have been having serious engagement with the subnational parliament, especially in the areas of capacity building. As I'm talking to you now, as at the time we had induction with the National Assembly, the Rep and Senate, we had the same induction with about 21 state assembly in this country. We are in partnership with about 22, subnational parliaments. We have training session for them quarterly from time to time, one on the basis of their own request, sometimes on the basis of our own initiative. In other words, in the last 5 years, our partnership, relationship with the State Assembly has been so, robust, productive, that unless you see one State Assembly, I will say, oh, we have not passed through names for one program or the other. I think we have been having it, productive with them. And that is why it was convenient for us to champion their cause when they are talking about autonomy, when they are talking about funding, when they are talking about getting their own funding from the first line charge. Our institute championed that cause. We championed that cause through a lot of intercourse we have with them that now produce, okay, take the lead, do it for us. And that is why up to now we are in touch. So we're able to do this not only on our own, we partner with a lot of donor agencies. We partner with the Koran Institute, for instance, a German donor agency. We partner with Westminster Foundation from UK. We partner with UN Women. We partner with a lot of donor agencies in getting these services rendered to the state level. The state subnational parliaments have been part of what we do in the last 5 years, and we have a whole lot of program outlined for the next, year coming up.
So, Prof, let's now talk about deepening legislative executive synergy and independence. One question I would like to ask you is, most political analysts see lawmakers as too pliant to the whims of the executives. What's your position on this?
That the lawmakers are liars?
Many analysts see lawmakers as too pliant to the whims of the executive. I'd like to have your position on this.
Okay. Yes, there was this perception, the notion everywhere, that the Nigerian lawmakers are subservient. Not only Nigerian lawmakers, most African lawmakers, they believe they are subservient to the executive. It's a perception, it's a notion, it's a belief, rightly or wrongly. But what I can tell you is that that perception or belief is more pronounced at the state levels. At the national level, yeah, you can say relative. They have relative autonomy to a large extent. And this thing is scientific. But at the state level, out of 5 subnationals, for instance, parliament we have, how could you see 2, 3 subnational parliaments that will claim to be independent without the control, influence, and at times without being submerged by the executive? So, in the areas of being tied to the upstream of the executive, I want to believe those analysts, they could be right at the state level. But at the national level, yes, at the level of recruitment, of leadership, as a political scientist that I am, I don't think any executive president will want to see a speaker or a senate president that will work against his policy. You want to see a presiding officer that will work with them, that is part of their program, that is part of their project. Hence, some relative intervention, incursion into determining who become the Senate president, the speaker, and other principal officers. Nobody will just fold his arms and say, oh, go and elect whoever he wants. So people want to think, they want to really monitor and see how they can really influence, so to speak, mobilize support for somebody or someone they believe, could carry out the program of the party. That perhaps inform what we see at national level. But whether in the course of their proceeding, in the course of their assignment, in the course of their lawmaking and oversight function, whether indeed the lawmaker at the center are subservient or not, I want to disagree. That from what I've seen so far, they tend to develop some kind of autonomy in discharge of their duty from time to time. And we could see this from the oversight function. We could see this from there's some certain altercation between the executive and the legislature. You could see it on them, dropping or declining to approve certain appointment or appointee. We could see it on several occasions at the national level, where you could find it a bit, except yesterday that you saw what happened in Lagos, that the parliament in Lagos are now trying to drop. You could only see something where the parliament at the state level will now say no to the executive. It's very rare. But at the federal level, I want to believe, to a large extent, that Nigerian legislature at the center tend to have some relative autonomy in the discharge of their duty. So the analysis of the observation, is neither here nor there. You can say at the subnational level, yes, they are subservient. But at the federal level, they tend to have some relative independence.
Prof, another argument tied to this narrative is that the legislature is the most abused during military rules. Hence, it's taking time to evolve. But is it not long enough to have shed that trauma?
But again, I think they are evolving. They are evolving. You see, one problem the Nigerian legislature, just like any other ones in other climes in Africa has, is that their responsibility is to make law. Their duty is to oversight. Their duty is to represent their people. In the course of oversight, in the course of making law, you see, the National Assembly members, you see there at times, in the course of their public hearing or public whatsoever, they summon, they have power to summon. Well, when they summon chief executive MDs, they don't have power to enforce. They don't have power of coercion. They don't have power to compel. The instrument of coercion is not in the hands of the legislature. We have seen instances where they summon IG and he refused to accede to the summon. We have seen where they summon chief executive of custom and he refused to accede to the summon. We have seen instances where they summon chief executive of MDA, powerful MDA, and they refuse. And when they refuse, they don't have the power to compel to enforce. I think the power of enforcement is a major problem. As long as the only thing they could do was to make law, making law, oversight, and they don't have the power of compliance. I think that is just the gap there. And it's not just something we can blame the parliament on. It's something we all must stand up to say, look, this thing must stop. So I think that's the problem we have. So anything you want to now, any blame or critique on the parliament in Nigeria, in the areas of their shortcoming, I think should look at the law that set it up, should look at the legal framework, should look at the extant rule, and let's see how we can tinker with it in a way that we can give them more power. Secondly, when you look at the funding of National Assembly, it's something that you pity them on. I know this is one topic people don't like to hear, but again, if out of, for instance, people have the notion that, oh, the National Assembly, they take control of all the money in Nigeria, they are the one discharging the funding, they are the one that corner all the resources. You can say that at other level, but when it comes to the allocation to National Assembly, I think that institutions or organ of government is underfunded. Out of 21 trillion, for instance, budgeted for, at time, you can only see taking 200 billion as allocation going to National Assembly. Out of this 200 billion, you have our institutes, you have National Assembly Service Commission, you have the Public Complaint Commission, you have the National Assembly bureaucracy of more than 3,000 people. So, but the problem they have is that they don't tell their story. They know what they are facing. They need to,
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. I mean, this is an ongoing conversation. I'm certain we will have another day to continue this. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Professor Abubakar Olanrewaju Suleiman, Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.
Get in on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. Betano.ng. The game starts now.
Bye, Mom. He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Are you worried about the safety and security of your home at night? Do you wish to know when intruders come close to your home? Or do you want to protect what matters to your family from anywhere at any time? What if there was a convenient, affordable way to keep surveillance on your home without having to worry about wires, installations, or heavy light bills? Introducing the incredible Sidebulb HD Cam, the robotic 360-degree two-way torque camera with action tracking technology. Sidebulb is the ultimate solution for discreet and powerful surveillance. It's so easy to install, and the app lets you rotate and view the video from your Sidebulb in real time from any smartphone. You can drop in from anywhere and check in with our two-way talk technology. Talk and listen at the same time.
Hello, Mommy.
Hey, sweetie. I'll be home soon, okay?
Sidebulb's advanced tracking technology locks onto motion and tracks in real time. Set the siren alarm to go up when motion is detected and keep intruders away. Check in on your home while you're away. Make sure the kids got home safely. Interact with visitors at your doorway or surprise a trespasser.
Surveillance in a light bulb. I was amazed at the 360-degree rotation. It gives me a full view of my house and I can check in on my kids. The footage is clear and the night vision is so impressive. The best part, I can add multiple sidebulbs for a complete home surveillance.
I really like my Sidebulb. It's so easy to use. I just downloaded the app, I put it on my phone, and I add it up and run in about 3 minutes.
Traditional surveillance systems are bulky, expensive, and difficult to install. But with Sidebulb HD Cam's innovative design, installation is as fast as changing a light bulb, and it's made for indoor and outdoor surveillance.
The Sidebulb HD Cam is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 200,000 Naira for an indoor and outdoor security system that doesn't fully secure your home. But call the number on your screen now and get the Sidebulb HD Cam for just 45,000 Naira and get peace of mind. And that's not all. If you call now, we'll give you an extra Sidebulb at no extra cost. That means you buy one and get one free for 45,000 Naira. But wait, there's more. If you order now, you get the Sidebulb HD Cam delivered to you for free wherever you are in Nigeria. So, call the number on your screen now or visit our website to place your order while stock lasts. The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
What started as a misunderstanding between a farmer and a herder
has triggered a humanitarian crisis for about 70 to 80 communities on the plateau. Plateau State is struggling to hold on to its name as the home of peace and tourism. Located in the northwestern part of Nigeria, it is hard to ignore the ironic situation that has lingered for about 2 decades. Living the grasslands, mountains, and much talked about weather to make up for the grief, loss, and scanty rural communities in Plateau State. Since late 2001, when the first major riot in more than 3 decades broke out in Jos, to 2010, at least 4,000 persons have been killed in the protracted communal clash, leaving thousands displaced. From Jos, the state capital, to Yelwa, Pangshin, Jos South, Barkinladi to Mongo local government area, casualties have been recorded on the part of the indigents and the settlers. From 2019 to 2021, the state recorded about 177 deaths. In 2023, at least 343 persons were killed within 3 months in 8 local government areas of the state.
The present situation we're having on ground started on the 14th of April 2023 when a Fulani boy killed a local in his farm, and that degenerated to the issue of burning down Murish, Jokme Tumbi, and Campus. So after some while, it stopped, and the security took over the situation. Unknown to us, that there was another plan again from some Fulani groups from Barkin Ladi, who came to attack our villages on the 15th of May 2023. Since then, that is what we are still facing up till today.
There seems to be relative peace on the plateau following a 3-month clash between neighboring communities in Mangu, Barkinladi, and Birom local government areas. This is one of the largest camps for displaced persons in Mangu local government area of the state. We are greeted by expectant eyes. For the displaced, a vehicle filled with new faces could mean the next meal for the day. Men, women, and children stand and sit in circles, discussing and waiting for news about their loved ones, treasured farmlands, and communities under siege and imminent security threats. A moment away from the sullen faces, we couldn't ignore the tackling giggles and cheers from the pitch. Others not on the pitch keep themselves busy with whatever they can find. Their puzzled looks hidden behind innocent smiles, they all want to be seen and heard, having been running and hiding for days from the wrath of militia men in the plateau.
In this same camp, I've shed tears on and on and on, because the vulnerable people you are seeing, they have no leader that will take care of them.